Tuesday. Bobby Fye and Eric Sheets-Haber. We're going to be talking through today's 11-game MLB slate. Had a really good night last night. I nearly won the 250. Ended up finishing fifth.
Wow.
Which is a little bit frustrating. Yeah, just a couple things could have gone a little different, and it's a 20K difference, so that would have been a really nice welcome to this season because I've now cashed that tournament 7 days in a row.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I played one lineup every time, but I haven't had any, 2,500 is okay or whatever, but I haven't had like the real big one. So it was looking like pretty good last night for a minute. At least I thought I was going to get second, but it is what it is.
If you want to pull that up and share that lineup, we could talk about that.
Sure. Yeah, it's nothing. I think it's nothing crazy special, but I'll go ahead and do it. Let me just bring up my history. But yeah, it was a decent night. That was the biggest tournament I played last night. I'm going to play the big one tonight, as I tend to do, and usually like to wait myself in here. Let me just pull this screen up. It wasn't like anything special. It was what we talked about on the show, which, sort of as we kind of suspected, that there was something wrong, that the Braves just didn't seem like they weren't getting the ownership that they would. But it was the Braves with it was a 3-1, it was 5-1-1-1. My Herrera came through with the home run again. That guy just I don't know, I love him at all. I think they need to raise his price about this time. And didn't even get like the right exact Braves entirely. Like I had Harris instead of Ozuna. Ozuna hit a home run, but it was like 2 points difference. And yeah, it was a solid line. Definitely could have been a little bit better. Atlanta had some swipes in the bottom of the ninth, and yeah, it was a solid overall day. I did play all the Gallen and Barrios, so that was good because I feel like avoiding the wrong pitchers was basically the way that you could win last night. Everybody seemed to get hit. So yeah, I felt pretty good about it.
It's quite a nice stat line for the Gallen. He got hit around a little bit, but he got his strikeouts, which is obviously a really big deal.
Yep.
10 strikeouts in 5 innings. That's bringing it, and that overcomes a lot of deficiencies. You know what I mean? You have that strikeout upside like every single day.
Yeah, and I did want to mention about him and just about the Braves, about just sort of thinking about the ownership thing so far this season. It seems like most sites are way off on the ownership because we're getting all kinds of different things that are just nowhere near close. Like I had right beforehand, I saw some sites, I'm not going to say what, but had Gallen as the highest owned pitcher. Barrios they had as the 4th or 5th highest owned pitcher, who was significantly the highest. It just everything seemed a little bit off with some of the stuff. So, but I think that's bound to happen early in the season in baseball because what happens is people decide, are we going to use this pitcher? And if we're going to use the expensive pitchers, obviously we can't afford the Braves. But if we don't use the expensive pitcher, we're going to have the Braves. So that was my night, Sheets. How was yours? And
yeah, so this was my cash in the FanDuel big one here.
Oh, nice.
Despite not the greatest performance from Zach Eflin, to say the least. But I actually did get the right Braves. I had Harris and Ozuna and Albies. So I had all 3 of the home runs, I think. And then I had Tucker, and it was just the Houston, Atlanta, 4x4. And Eflin for Barrios and leaving, and then I would have to have left my money on the table. Then that would have done it, but I wasn't going to play. I wasn't going to do that anyway. So this was pretty good. DraftKings, I was not as good as you were, and ready to get after today. And it's boy, oh boy, it's a rough one because the first game we're going to talk about is a real nasty one, and I'm going to be there. So it's Miami at Yankees, and this one is going to be testing all of my biases and all of my everything I got going on here. Okay, because first of all, I'm a human being, right? So I do like to, all else being equal, to have action when I'm at the game,
Mm-hmm.
And yet since the moment they traded for him, I was saying that Rodon sucks, okay? And he basically hasn't had a good start for the Yankees, I think, ever, okay? So, now, I'm making that up, but it certainly seems that way. Since they picked him up last year, he's been chalk, I think, every single time he's on the mound. He's always cheap. His matchup is always pristine, and he never does anything, okay? And this goes all the way back into last year, and we're right here, just right where you want to be. You're home against Miami at a cheap price as the chalkiest, probably between him and Glasnow, I guess, one of the chalkiest pitchers on the slate, and I don't know what I want to do. Okay. Second comment is that, the Yankees hitting against the Pook, Pook was the guy, by the way, who was like really, really chalky in his first outing. He couldn't get a guy out, and it doesn't really show much signs of improving yet. But listen, they obviously have big plans for him. Not the greatest spot to go in, to go into Yankee Stadium with all that that comes with that. So I do like the Yankees as well, on both sides. And if I really like put this in my computer, right, in my brain, and put everything else aside, I'm pretty sure you're just supposed to play De La Cruz and all the freaking Marlins. Okay. But I don't know if I have it in me. Tell me what you think of Rodon. I mean, the Yankees are obviously, if you can get him in, great, whatever. But tell me what you think of Rodon as a play, because I think that decision is going to just kind of determine the whole slate for me.
I just think there's so many pitchers. I actually don't think he's going to be. I don't think he's going to be like wild chalk or anything. There's other guys I like in his price range that I feel good about. He'll definitely be in the mix for me. He had two really terribly tough matchups to start the season, and now he gets the Marlins, who are a better matchup. Actually, probably not as much better as maybe some people think. They're a little bit more a little better offensively maybe than they get credit for. I think this is a four sides game. You could really make a case for all the sides. You mentioned you have the cheap Marlins. You've got the Yankees versus a lefty who's struggling at home, and that just seems like a good spot to take the Yankees. So the highest sides I'll be on are the Rodon and the Yankees side.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's going to play the Yankees, by the way. The thing with the Yankees that's interesting is that they're the top of there are certain hitters that are so expensive that they sort of fall into with Soto and Judge, that sort of puts them into Dodger and Atlanta territory in terms of overall stack pricing. So unless you fade those guys, it's going to be a very, very it's very, very low owned every day. So I do think the Yankees are kind of interesting today at home. A little bit of wind blowing in from right field predicted right now, but 65 degrees is a nice day.
Very warm. It's very warm today.
Yeah, nice day this time of year. So I'm in on getting to some Yankees and probably a little Rodon. I may end up, once I start building more, getting to some Marlins, just because the value of De La Cruz, if he does bat second, could make some things work. Jake Berger just has a tremendous amount of power at first and third. He's 4,200. But yeah, I think it's an interesting game to try to get, because I can see an argument for all aspects of it. I'm not getting to the Pook myself. I'll go for it in another matchup later in the season. But I wouldn't surprise me if he had a day. All right, Seattle, Toronto.
Yeah. So Seattle, Toronto. I'm not really getting to either Kirby or Bassett as one of the top options today. You could certainly, just based on the numbers and talent, make a case for either of them. But I just don't have them kind of near the top of the list. I Bassett rated 7th or so, and then Kirby. I don't know why I don't have him rated higher. Am I just don't have him projected or something like that? No, I have him. He's just not really showing up as being that great right now. Interestingly, I am getting to some Seattle in stacks, and when I say getting to, and again, I've been literally beaking about this for 3 years, and I still haven't done it yet. So one of the things I have with that I don't put on the site is kind of the stack tool, not that just shows the numbers, but just kind of compares them to projected ownership. And I have this kind of this leverage thing that I kind of like to identify. And I do have Seattle rated as the top as far as that goes. It's not the most appealing. I mean, you're going to be playing probably lower power guys like JP Crawford and guys like that. But if you get Raleigh in the lineup, that would be nice. You play Julio righty, Sanzone, I guess, Polanco. So it doesn't feel all that great, but just telling you guys that's kind of what I'm seeing.
Yeah, I definitely cannot sign off on a Seattle 5-man stack. I don't understand it. I love Bassett. I think that he's the guy I think I have as the top pitcher right now. Seattle's like the highest strikeout team in baseball against righties so far this season. So I'm into Bassett. I could definitely get in on like there's going to be, because you're going to look for value depending on which stacks you use, like Cal Raleigh, Mitch Garver, both catching options, Polanco, Haniger, and Crawford all make sense. But I would be trying to get out of my way of 5-man stacking. I would make sure they'd be my side stack, my 3-man. I would be using them for the value, not for the upside, because this offense has been pretty brutal. Now they're going to hit someday, but that's just my take for today. So I'm very into Bassett. I think Kirby's an incredible tournament play. Like I actually think that at no ownership against an offense that's really struggling for a guy who's as efficient with his pitches as he is. I mean, he could put up 35 today, and I don't feel that way about that many guys in general. So he's not a priority for me by any means, but I definitely wouldn't mind getting some exposure to him. And I don't initially want any of the bats, but as I mentioned, there's a reason why Seattle stands out. They are a little bit cheaper. You've got guys like Crawford who, sort of that no man's land range in terms of pricing at shortstop that's going to show up. So I certainly can get behind some of it. I just don't want to Bassett on today. Although it's funny, we've seen Bassett run into trouble already in his outings, but really, it's just the home run ball. Like if you take away I know you could say that, but it's just him giving up the home runs that's been the issue. And he's walked a few more guys than usual. I think this is a better matchup for him, and I'm going to be on the Bassett side of things myself today. So that's where I'm at.
Mets Atlanta, little bit of rain possibility. It's supposed to end, but there's that. By the way, Mets stack just like we thought yesterday, right?
Yeah, right.
I don't know why we didn't lock in Brandon Nemo. But somehow I missed it somehow. Today, I'm not getting to either pitcher here. You can talk to me about Ronaldo Lopez. There's like a Lopez you sometimes talk me into playing, and a Lopez that you don't. I forget which one this one is. We'll get to that in a minute.
He's both.
What's that?
He's both. I think I've done a lot of both.
That's really funny. That's really funny. But obviously Atlanta, every day has upside. And if you can get to the Acuñas, Olsons, Albies, Riley, and Ozuna, great. But we also have kind of different thoughts about Hauser. I mean, I always regarded Hauser as somebody that you could just tee off on, where you always remind me that it's not so easy to get to him. So they are going to project pretty well. They are going to be tough to get to, and they're going to probably be somewhat low owned. So that's always good for him.
Yeah, it's not that I have such a thing for Hauser. I don't think he's been that bad, and the role he's had his entire life until now is very different. I mean, he's basically been like a 5-inning starter or occasionally 4 innings for Milwaukee. So it was more like bullpen games that people were trying to target that I was trying to avoid. Gotcha. But it's Atlanta, so of course it's a good it's a good option as always. A little bit of wind blowing in from center, like they have it as 8 miles an hour right now. We'll see what that looks like later today. But I have it's a little bit. It's not enough to keep me off of something, but it does. If it was going the other way, I would be a little bit more excited about it. But yeah, so I have Atlanta. As one of the great stacks, and also I still don't believe in this Mets as a team bullpen. I think that you're going to take pitchers against the Mets this year. So I like the idea of getting to some Lopez, and I like the idea of getting to the Brave stack, but I don't have them as big of a priority. I think that you could argue that they're just as good as they were every other day, but I just think there's more stacks. There's more games on this slate, but I do have Atlanta as one of the top stacks. It's just not the clear. Okay, I know what I'm doing tonight. Going away, I'm going to play Atlanta yet. Speaking of, we get Houston and Kansas City.
Yeah, so Houston scored 10 runs yesterday, right? And you got the two battling Cy Young Award guys like Brady Singer and Cole Reagans, both from the same team. What can I say? I mean, you want a ridiculous tournament play? Go play Cole Reagans against Houston coming off a 10-run game. I definitely will have made worse plays in my life. He strikes people out. I hope I get to him organically so that I could just use him. I don't know if I will though, because Houston projects always so well that it's kind of tough to always get pitchers against them. And I hope this isn't also one of those games with the Kansas City wind blowing out 20 miles an hour like it was a couple of days ago, because that obviously will get me off of that. Christian Javier always seems like a reasonable play, and against Kansas City, he's probably going to seem like a reasonable play. I'll leave it to you to figure out, tell me how reasonable. I'm not as big of a fan, maybe. And as far as the hitting goes, listen, as much as Cole Reagans can bring it, Houston can still hit the ball. This is not my type of thing to go play Houston after a 10-run game, traveling and all that stuff. But I imagine they're going to look pretty good. I mean, they always do. And that's kind of my thoughts on this.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards the side of believing that the Cole Reagans stuff is really real, like really, really real, like that he might end up being one of the best pitchers in baseball. It's been a long enough sample now where we can start to at least flirt with the idea. I still feel odd about playing a lefty versus Houston, but this is not, I got to remind myself also, it's not George Springer, it's not Carlos Correa when he was cheating and all that stuff. This is a good Houston lineup, but they're lefties. Their best hitters are lefties. Outside, well, 2 of their 3 best hitters are lefties. So I think both pitchers are totally in play. I don't really see a giant difference between all of the 8K guys. And I didn't get to the bats because I have enough respect for the pitchers. The Javier one is maybe a little more interesting. So like he only pitched 5 innings in the last game. He did throw 97 pitches, but he only had 1 hit, but he walked 5 guys. So and Kansas City is a team that doesn't like to walk. They tend to chase early. It seems like a matchup that sets up pretty well for Javier, but it would also be nice to get Javier a little bit cheaper. And Reagans, it feels weird to play Javier at more than Reagans when I'm sitting here saying Reagans may end up being one of the better pitchers in baseball. So it's just a funny range. Again, this is a slate. Like, I don't feel great and easy and comfortable about any of the pitchers on this slate. And we're just going to run into this sometimes. And there's going to be other days where we want to play like 15 pitchers. But these days, it's pricing, it's situations. It's hard to feel great about anything. And we've got the most popular guy coming up in the next game, probably, right?
Yeah.
Take it away.
Glasnow is definitely the highest projected pitcher. He's definitely the highest projected owning pitcher. And this is exactly what you want to see. Like started off not so great, 77 pitches, got him out of there, whatever. Then they ramped him up to 80 or whatever through 6 innings, and they let him go the full 100 pitches in 6 innings. And that's exactly what you want to see, increasing strikeouts and all this stuff. He's, I would imagine the cash game pitcher, the most likely to get 20 fantasy points, right, out of anybody. Kind of hard to argue with it. I'm not really getting too much, if any, of the Varland. And hitting, though, I mean, I guess we're just going to say the same thing every day. Sometimes we're going to play a little bit of the Dodgers. Sometimes we're going to play a lot. I think today is probably like a little. But I certainly will play a little. So it's going to be Glasnow and a little bit of the Dodgers.
So, okay, so of the stacks we like, the Dodgers are by far the stack I like the most that we've talked about so far. But the problem is, again, not the problem, but just things to keep in mind. Minnesota had one of the best bullpens in baseball last year, and we're sort of assuming a similar thing this year. I still don't know if I really care all that much. And you also have Taylor Trammell at 2K to sort of, we haven't had those guys to be able to round out Dodger stacks that were less than 3K. And, you play him and Lux, it's not all of a sudden impossible to play Shohei, Mookie, and Freddie, So I'm going to be in on the Dodgers a pretty decent amount today. I actually think that they're a little bit better than the Braves, giving them the fact that they're, they've got a little bit of wind blowing out. They've got they're going to get all their at bats because they're going they're the road team. So it comes down to little things, but I do right now have the Dodgers as one of the top stacks on the day, and certainly the top one that we've talked about so far. I like Glasnow. Again, I think early in the year, Strider's the kind of guy, and Glasnow has the upside. Don't get me wrong, but is Glasnow would it surprise any of us if George Kirby outperformed Glasnow today at 9,400 at 115th the ownership? Should we at least think about that? You know what I mean? And I would say that you treat it like we do with our stacks. Maybe if you're playing a little bit of a chalkier stack like in Arizona, maybe you can get away with it with a George Kirby and try and squeeze him in there. But that's the way I'm looking at Glasnow today. He does seem like the safest, most logical option, but there are pivots, for other guys with similar ceilings that are going to just have a fraction of the ownership. So it's really about how much you want to embrace the variance.
Was there a thing? I mean, there was, but with Kirby that they didn't let him pitch enough to get his strikeouts or something like that. There was something.
I mean, he threw 94 pitches last time out.
He did. Okay, good. Okay.
Yeah, every worry that happens for Kirby in terms of pitch count, because they try to be careful with him. He got crushed. All right, 2 times out. Opening day, he threw 99 pitches.
Yep.
He's also one of the most efficient with his pitches because he doesn't walk anybody. He got rocked around the last time out, but that's we'll just look past that.
That's what happens when you throw the guy 100 pitches on opening day. See, that's what happens.
Yeah, there you go. They'll never do it again.
Yep.
So I'm just throwing out there that yes, I like Glasnow. I think that you're using him in cash, and I think that I'll probably have him in some tournaments. But I'm going to try to find ways to spend down a little bit, or maybe use a pivot at the top. Just because I think there's so many options.
I'll tell you with that stat line on Kirby in his last game, I think you're on. I think that's a great play today.
Yeah.
I something like Kirby. Maybe like just pitcher stack that game, like Kirby Bassett or something like that. That could be, that could definitely be something.
Yeah, I could see it.
Do you think Outman doesn't play, or do you think?
I would assume he plays.
Okay, you think Outman and Tram both play? Okay.
Yeah, I mean they did yesterday.
Oh, okay.
So, but we don't know yet, though. It could be a Taylor day or whatever. I'm sorry, or a Kike day or whatever. Philly, St. Louis.
Yeah. So Philly, St. Louis. Okay. So what's this Sonny Grace thing? So he's activated from the injured list to start Tuesday. He's expected to be limited to 65 pitches. Okay. It solves that problem. Zach Wheeler's always in play. He always has a big, usually at least that big is a big leash and strikes people out. And as I recall, we're supposed to play guys like that against the Cardinals when you're a righty. Maybe not anymore, but that's the way I remember it at least. So you want to talk about another pivot off of Glasnow? I think Wheeler is perfectly sound. So I do like that, and I'm not really getting any of the hitting in this game actually.
Yeah, this is one of those that I expect the ownership to change as the day goes on, because something feels fishy about Zach Wheeler getting no love at this price. I mean, in this spot, I totally agree as a great pivot. In fact, you know me, I just go for maximum variance. I'll probably make a Diamondback stack with like Wheeler and Kirby or something, like if I can find a way to do it. I don't know why Wheeler isn't.
Or a Dodgers stack with Wheeler and Kirby.
Yeah. I mean, so yeah, Wheeler's had 4 starts, I believe. No, 3 starts against the Cardinals in his past 2. He's given up a total of 4 runs. I'm trying to find any sort of advanced thing that's telling me why I shouldn't be playing him, and I haven't.
Yeah, I mean, if he pitches a reasonable game, he has 20. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, like he is, and 20 is like. But the problem is like, do we want to? I'm on the like, do we want to pay 10K for 20-point scores? But he's got a ceiling on top of that 20. Like he can get,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So I'm kind of in on this Wheeler idea a little bit, and I think that Philadelphia is an interesting stack, but I like some other ones just a little bit too much to where I probably don't end up using them. But I do think that Philadelphia is like an interesting, get different, get weird stack. It's one of the early morning ones where SaberSim has it, a 1.5 run total higher than Vegas does. But we just are seeing that a little bit these days. I do think Wheeler's ownership is gonna become more popular because I like the Wheeler play a lot. I cannot believe that no one will play him and they'll just load in Glasnow when I don't see them as being all that different today. So
speaking of not believing the SaberSim and the projections and all this stuff, I'm just gonna report what I have, and then
oh god, that's hilarious.
There's literally no way that this actually is the case. But I am currently rating Oakland as the second best stack on the board. I don't literally believe a word of it. I'm not interested in it. I'm probably not going to play it, and I imagine it just goes away. As a matter of fact, I think Eovaldi's a perfectly good option here.
I think he's going to be the highest owned. I think he actually will end up being maybe the highest owned pitcher.
He might be, right? I mean, I don't understand what all this is. So somebody's probably just overprojected in my thing. That's creeping everything up, I guess. I don't really have the patience to figure out what it is yet because we're just going to update him later anyway. So I mean, Eovaldi makes perfect sense against Oakland. That's all I'm going to say about that. I played him in one lineup on I'm playing 3 lineups in the 222 on FanDuel. They have that 222 today. I think I have Eovaldi in one of them. If anything, I think I like the Texas bats here against Wood. You're gonna have to tell me about this. Is again, you're the Alex Wood guy, but I currently right now, like maybe it's something to do with the weather there or something because
there's no weather
or the park because
not a great park. Yeah.
No, because all I'm saying is that I have currently Oakland rated 2 and Texas rated 3. You know what I mean? So there's got to be something going on, maybe with that overall total. It's
literally just pricing. It's that there's 9 guys that are starting in this game that are below 3K, and there's no value elsewhere. Yeah, okay. But that is where it's coming from. Okay. But I don't know. I don't know if the Oakland thing is you could just throw. Their total is 3.7. It's not 5 point whatever. Whatever. I'm not gonna lie. There probably ends up a few Oakland bats in my lineup just because Seth Brown is 2,900, Noda's 31. They're cheap enough to where you can take shots, and they're good fastball hitters. And you've got a primarily fastball pitcher with Eovaldi. I actually think Eovaldi though is the logical SP2 for cash. Like
I would think
pretty clear. I think And I think Texas will be the most popular team not named Arizona on this slate, and maybe more popular than Arizona because they're pricing. You have 2 third basemen at 2K and 2,600, and that's if they don't use the other 2,600 one, which we're guessing that they're not going to as of right now. And their stacks are a little bit cheaper than Atlanta and the Dodgers, and they have a terrible. You're facing, arguably probably the worst team in baseball in Oakland. So I think that Texas makes plenty of sense, but do I want to eat that chalk when there's so many other good stacks out there today? I'm not so sure that I do. And just taking in the historic stuff we know about Alex Wood is that even when he struggles, he's decent enough. You know what I mean? He's not. This is not like the worst pitcher in baseball. I know he's regressing. I know he's getting towards the end of his career, so you got to start changing some of the ways we look at him. But if I'm trying to talk myself out of the most popular stack against him, that's how I do it, because on paper, it certainly looks like Texas makes at least as much sense as anyone except for maybe Arizona. And even at Arizona, I think it's pretty close. So that's what I've got. And I will be playing some Eovaldi, but I like some other guys in that range as pivots off of them that we already talked about. But Eovaldi and Texas are going to be, I think that's what you're doing in cash. I think in your cash game lineup, you'll have 4 players on the Texas side in that game.
So Arizona at Colorado, I do think that Arizona can obviously put up a big number here against Quantrill. They're going to end up being the highest projected team, and I'm going to have them again as the highest projected owned. And there are guys you might have to pay for here, but you can play Blaze 3,900. Or Suarez if he's in or whatever. But listen, they're going to have a big total. You got a Jock Peterson at 4,200 against a righty. All the Arizona guys are probably going to look pretty good. The Colorado side, they hit pretty nicely yesterday, even against Gallen. I kind of have a hankering to play some Merrill Kelly in tournaments. When he's got a lot of variance. When he gets it going, though, he can get it going. And when he doesn't, it can happen. So I think both sides of that make sense. I think Colorado makes sense. I think some Merrill Kelly makes sense, and obviously Arizona bats makes sense.
Yeah, again, I think you just have to ignore the early projections because, I'll look at Goldie's, and Goldie's got a few. You got Marte, Walker, and Carroll all in the teens, but everybody else below 10%. I don't know if I buy that one today. I guess it's a little hard. It just depends on what people end up doing with pitching.
they'll play Rodon and they'll get all the Arizonas. That's what's going to do.
They'll play Rodon. Okay, yeah, and maybe Bassett. But you have the 8 mile an hour winds blowing in, just throwing it out there, 61 degrees, so it's getting a little bit warmer. Arizona clearly has the largest total on the day. They are expensive for the bets that you want to get for the most part, but not like crazy expensive. So I do like Arizona, and I like, look, me, I like to go after Merrill Kelly. The way these people are winning with these Rocky stacks, though, I mean, this team can't hit a home run to save their life. They're just sitting singles all over the place, and just it's worked out a couple times so far this season, which is crazy because their offense is just putrid. It's hard to click these buttons, but taking a shot against Merrill Kelly is viable, and I think Merrill Kelly against Colorado is completely viable. So this is a 4-pronger or a 3-pronger? No, it's a 4-pronger. Oh no, not the 3 prongs. I don't have any interest in playing Cal Quantrill, but I do think that every other aspect of this game is very much in play, and I think Arizona and Kelly would be the way I would side with it if I had to pick. But I probably will have a little bit of I probably will force in a little bit of Colorado exposure.
So if you play Glasnow, Rodon, and just basically 5-man these Arizonas, it leaves you 2,600 a man, and you already mentioned a couple of 2K guys that are on the slate. You know what I mean? Like you already mentioned a couple of that Dodger guy, the Trammell, the couple of Oakland guys. So you can definitely do this. So I think the Arizona ownership is pretty high.
Yeah. By the way, the guy who's trying to rob me of money has just got in our chat and tried to say stuff. It's really crazy to me. He sends me different things all the time. I paid him off twice what he said I owed him, and now he's hounding me every day, trying on every different platform of ways of tracking me down and saying, you owe me this. Then he's demanding thousands of dollars for literally just because of his time and your time to harass me. He's threatened me, he's threatened my family. So please ignore that guy.
Which guy am I supposed to ignore? Let me see.
His name is, I just deleted it.
Is this the WW Fresh again?
Yep. And he was a guy I always liked. I know he fell in hard times. I feel for him, but I'm just not going to have somebody.
Yeah, PD, we are going to have Masters content. That's going to be tomorrow.
Yeah. Do you mind starting off the next one, Sheets?
Yeah, no problem. So Tampa against the Angels. I'm not. Well, I shouldn't say that. So if you're going to play like Rodon at 7,900, I definitely think that Savali's in play also at 77 at lower ownership. Doesn't have the greatest projection in the world, but if you want to get to some of these bigger stacks and save money, I think it's totally reasonable. And the Pablo Sandoval is to me a Bobby guy. Like I never know what to do with him. But he's another $7,100 guy with like a mid-teens point projection with a zero ownership. Who again, if you want to get up to these top guys, these top stacks, it's a decent way to save money. And listen, you don't expect all too much, but whatever. The other side of this, though, the Tampa side of the stack is actually showing up as a pretty good opportunity. But listen, think about this with terms of MMA for a minute. Like if you're gonna play like Tampa, you're getting leverage off of other stacks, but you're targeting a pitcher that no one's gonna play. Okay, so you're not getting any direct leverage at all. So you're getting kind of leverage against the hitting, but just nothing against the pitcher. So I do have Tampa rated as kind of an okay, like maybe number 5 or 6 or something like that. We'll get to another team like that in a minute. But I don't know. You like Savali? You like Sandoval as cheapos here?
I mean, they belong on a list, but I don't know how excited I am about it. Savali has been really good the first 2 outings, and they tougher matchups than this one. So maybe you can consider it, but it's just not the kind of thing that I usually try to do. So I don't know. Personally, not maybe quite as much. I don't really have that much in this game. I think Tampa Bay, like you said, is an interesting, like, sort of contrarian stack. The problem is they're also really expensive. They're not hitting in a great hitter's park. It is 73 degrees, though. It is warm out here today. Yeah, I think I feel a little bit indifferent about this game, which means I probably don't end up doing much. I think that Tampa Bay will be like the 3rd or 4th highest owned stack on the day. It's still not going to be like crazy, but yeah, I think I think it's okay. It's just not where I'm at the moment. So like, yeah, I think this is another one where you could argue a lot of different sides of it. right now, my side is probably to stay away from it. I will point out that Mike Trout at 5,700 keeps getting completely unowned. He had another monster game last night, and he's been like totally unowned on every slate. He's hit 5 home runs already this year. I think that, just Mike Trout is a one-off. Like, that's something I think I got to talk myself into. Like, that's pretty much it.
So welcome back to the Josiah Gray experience.
Now he's projected to be owned too.
Not by me, he won't.
Oh yeah, probably not.
Well, I mean, I am not going to be participating in this right now. And I'm completely biased. I just know what I saw. What can I tell you? They're saying he only had 3 walks. If you say so, I mean, if he had 3 walks, I promise you this, that he had like 7 other batters that went to 3 balls. Okay,
yeah.
He was nowhere near the freaking plate, like the whole time. Yeah. Now, in the positive is that with all that, they let him throw 96 pitches or something like that. So if somehow he finds the plate and he's and he's gets on the right side of BABIP or whatever, I mean, 96 pitches out of a $6,400 guy is can come in handy. I'll just say that. I just don't know if I can do it. The Harrison on the other side, again, I like the way you put it. I with the other dude, I think he's a guy on a list. At 7,600, not the greatest strikeout matchup in the world, to say the least. But the Washington, they're not the greatest team in the world either. So if all you're looking for is a win, maybe, and maybe right, and some strikeouts, perhaps, and not expect that much, 15 points, something like that, then you could include him in your mix. I think that you're going to have to consider playing San Francisco, and you're going to have to consider, stacking against Josiah Gray every day. Now, that doesn't mean you have to stack against him every day, but you have to consider it. He just has that kind of upside for other teams. And there are cheapos on San Francisco that you can play. You could use them maybe as complementary pieces to Arizona, complementary pieces to the Dodgers, complementary pieces to whoever you want. But there are guys you could play who are cheap against the guy who gives up a lot of stuff. So that's I guess my analysis of this game.
I'm surprised Kyle Harrison is not getting more love today. I actually like him a lot, and I think that there is upside for him. He had to face the Dodgers and Padres back to back. Those are not teams you want to face. And then he gets Washington at home. I think this is a spot where I was surprised to see that people weren't as high on him. Point per dollar, it's Josiah Gray is going to look like the best play. And by the way, I am willing to overlook everything. He's the most high variance pitcher. I've seen everything that he does it every year. And then he'll have these horrible games, and then he'll go out and put up 28. If he's unowned, which he initially wasn't going to be by the looks of things, but I had a feeling it would correct. Now it looks like I didn't know it would correct this much. No ownership at all. I'll probably take a chance at 6,400. I don't know. It's not going to be my highest buy-in probably, but it's something I'm considering. So I actually had a little more interested in the pitching. At the same time, like you said, though, I think that if you're playing multiple lineups, you definitely have to get to a little bit of San Francisco. At least pieces. They're cheap. Gray has been all over the place. He gives up. He walks people. He gives up home runs. I think that Lamont Wade, Jung-Hoo Lee, whether it's Conforto or Yastrzemski, who's ever in today, Soler, all of these guys are very decent plays. So I have no issue with the San Francisco stack myself.
So I have to shout us both out for yesterday. We were hopefully bordering on begging people to get off of Yu Darvish chalk, and saw what happened. You got even a little more into the weeds with it. I just knew that he's had a lot of variance, and you shouldn't play him with chalk anyway. But you identify that some realities that the Cubs are they're good, man. You know what I mean? They're rough. And so to play pitchers against them, especially as chalk, especially that has a lot of variance, that's rough business. Now, incredibly, I couldn't even believe it till this morning. The Padres actually came back, I think, to win the game.
Yeah, they did.
like 9-8 or something like that. That's
Yeah,
kind of
seven in the 8th.
yeah.
7-7.
Now there's a pitching change. I thought that it was going to be Smiley today, but it's not. It looks like Ben Brown at a flat 4K.
He won't start. He'll be the long relief
No, it
guy.
says he's starting.
Well, yeah, but I mean, we've only got one example of this, right? And he came out of the bullpen.
No, I know, but if that, they would have said PLR, I think.
I just don't think they necessarily know, but yeah, maybe.
In any case, I'll let you comment on that. Musgrove, again, he usually gets owned more than he should every day. And I'm just not interested. Do I want to play the Cubs? That's the question. I'm currently not getting to any of the hitting in this game, but should we, if it's in fact going to be a Cubs Ben Brown thing, should we be playing the Padres? I don't know. What do you think here?
Definitely want to play Ben Brown if he does actually start.
Okay.
That's a really easy one. It's not like he's going to start and pitch one inning. He pitched 4 innings last time out of the bullpen, and by the way, it was optimal. But I don't know. It's interesting. I'm sorry. I'm a little distracted. I had to delete a couple more people. I just am so sick of this disgusting world we live in, where people.
First of all, you have to.
What?
You got to do that thing with the.
We have it. No, it's all done. Sheets. All of it's done. It's people who have followed us. It's just complete nonsense. It's not. It's just really, really frustrating because people just make up completely crazy, bizarre things. I mean, anyway, it just really, really aggravates me. All right, so Musgrove, I'm not going to play as of right now against the Cubs. As we talked about yesterday with Darvish, I think the Cubs are a really good offense, and I just don't think we need. I don't think I need to do that. To take a shot if he was going to be low owned, for some reason, if it's steamed and he would get less than 10% of ownership, then I would maybe take a shot. But I'm not going to do it as of right now. Ben Brown, just because the value, and I think that at the same time that San Diego is an offense that might get a little bit overlooked tonight. It's not ideal hitting San Diego conditions. You got 10-mile-an-hour winds blowing in from left field, but 67 degrees. There are worse temperatures out there today. And I wouldn't have a problem with it. So I think San Diego would be the more interesting side here. But I also think I'm going to have some Ben Brown exposure, assuming that he does start.
I'll tell you, in the initial Saberson builds, I'm getting to all this Arizona, which is going to show that it's just easy to get to. You know what I mean?
I think it's also showing that Arizona currently is projected not to be owned by Saberson only. So they're going to give you way more Arizona than I'm guessing that you'll get later today.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
Figure out the ownership, because I'm looking at them right now. They don't have any. Saberson doesn't have anybody over 7% owned on their hitters. That's just never going to be the case.
All right, I'm just gonna say this. All right, I'm gonna pull this up in a second.
Do the Miami thing.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, you have Rodon, who's done nothing, and you have you know what just sealed it for me? I didn't even realize you have who used to be a good hitter. You have Tim Anderson at 3,500. He's a freaking righty. You have Dela Cruz 3,700. He's a righty. You have Jake Berger, right? I'm pretty sure he's a righty. He's 4,200. You have Arias, whatever. I mean, he's not going to hit home runs, but he'll make things turn around. I'm gonna have to have one. I'm just gonna have to. I mean, it makes too much sense for me. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I hear you.
I won't root too loudly, but in the back of my head,
it'll just be in the back of your head. All right, sounds good. Well, good luck to everybody. Sheets, as he said, will be at the Yankee game tonight, so I will be live solo at 6 Eastern. I'll cover basketball as well, which is a massive, crazy slate for basketball.
Yeah, I was going to even consider putting a lineup in, but it's so ridiculous. There's so many guys that are questionable.
Yeah, it's an all-night thing.
You just even if it's playing one lineup, you can't know. I mean, is Cade Cunningham playing? Anybody know? You know what I mean? I just threw one name out there. I mean, who knows?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll want to thank all you guys for tuning in. Please like on your way out. Good to see everybody, and we'll see you live at 6.